Penn State, Boise State. This is the first playoff game. This is New Year's Eve. This is 7:30 Eastern on ESPN from the Fiesta Bowl. Uh-oh, guys. Uh-oh. Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl. You know what that means. Do you? No, I don't know what it means. I really hope you know what it means. Someone's got to tell me. Because I kid you not, I have been asked that like 19 times on every radio hit I've done. Josh, you know what Boise and the Fiesta Bowl means, right? I don't know. They're going to sleep in Phoenix the night before? What does it mean? Oh, you mean something that happened when these dudes were what, in first grade? Will impact this game? Is that what I'm being told? So I had much fun as the next guy watching that game. I was working in the fabric warehouse in Columbus, guys, when that Fiesta Bowl, Boise versus Oklahoma, went down. It was a seminal moment. I don't even know how to spell seminal, but it was a seminal moment in my young college football adolescence. It was incredible. I call it the original upset. I think of that upset before App State over Michigan, before Stanford over USC, the Boise State-Oklahoma upset. That's the upset in college football because of how unexpected it was, how ignorant we were to the dynamics of those games still back then. I get what happened in the building. I don't think it has much impact on this game. So, advantage Boise being in the Fiesta Bowl? No. Advantage Boise for not having to play last week? Maybe that's an advantage. Either this goes really good for Boise or it goes really bad for Boise. It is what we call an either-or game. Exhibit 1, for what I mean by that. Boise is number 2 in the country in sacks. Sounds great, right? Heads up Drew Aller, in for a long night. Well, they're 31st in pressure rate. How do you even get that? How's a team in the 30s in pressure rate, but they're number 2 in sacks? Well, the way you get that is they've got to send more than 4, a lot. And if you look at how Boise does get home, they get home by blitzing extra guys. That's not a crazy concept. It makes sense, We used to do an 8-man football all the time. They do it in 11 on 11. If they get home, they get home. As is evidenced on this piece of paper, they're number 2 in the country in sacks. Here is the problem that I think will present itself against Penn State. If they don't get home, they are 111th in explosive plays allowed. There's no in between. It is either or. They either get to Drew Aller, and if they do, long day for Penn State, they'll grind that offense to a halt, and Boise will probably end up right there at the end or pulling the outright upset. Or they don't get home, but they try to, and they leave their guys exposed. And the thing about Penn State's passing game is a lot of it's tailbacks and tight ends. It's not so much wide receivers. So those checkdowns, Drew Aller's used to that stuff. He's used to not waiting for an out and up. He's used to not waiting for long developing passing routes and concepts. Either you get home or you're in the 100s in explosive plays. And also, another key stat to just tuck away, Boise defensively 127th in the country in missed tackles. So that's exhibit 1 of how it's all or nothing. Here's exhibit number 2. Ashton Jeanty, most important player in the game by most accounts, because there is no world where Boise wins the game and Ashton Jeanty does not go off. He has had 6 games of 200-plus yards this year. He had I can't believe this is a real number, he had 33% more rushing yardage than the next closest guy this year. Well, Josh, that's because he played against G5 competition. It's really not. You don't have to, permanently disrespect guys' accomplishments just because they play at the G5 level. He's really good, guys. He would be good no matter where he played this year. He'd be good no matter where he played in any era. And so you think about that, and you think that his stat line will tell the story. His stat line will not tell the story. I'll give you an example. So let's pick a number. Let's say 170 rushing yards. That's a lot. That's a really good day. That's especially a lot against Penn State. So if you tell me Ashton Jeanty's going to run for 170, what did we just prove? What did we figure out? We figured out he's going to have a good day on the ground, but did we figure out how this game's going to go? Because the first thing I would ask is not how many rushing yards he got. That's part 1 of the equation. How many carries did it take? There's a big difference, guys. There's a big difference in carrying it 31 times for 170 yards versus carrying it 16 times for 170 yards. So that's the first thing I'd want to know. Second thing I'd want to know is, were there explosive runs there? Because in the 16 carries for 170 version of the game, that means there were. And you score on explosive runs a lot of the time. And why that's important is because for Boise, there's this weird style of game that sometimes happens in college football where you're actually in better position at your opponent's 45-yard line to score than you would be if you were at your opponent's 15-yard line. Makes no sense unless you understand the dynamics of certain offenses. And if you're running back centric, for example, closer you get down to the goal line, the more the field compacts, the more they don't have to honor the pass. It gets really tough to score down there. So if you've got a guy that's really good, like Arizona State has and like Boise has it, popping explosive plays, sure, you'd love to be in the red zone. You'd love for it to be first and goal. But there's also this sense when you're in plus territory just over the 50, that's your go zone. That's the point right there where you may actually be the most dangerous. So if they pop those, that's great. If they don't, then do they score when they get in the red zone? And also, do you continue to do what you've done all year, and that's leading FBS in explosive runs? Because the freeze point theory is in effect here as well, and that is they have faced no run defense close to Penn State. That doesn't mean Penn State is impenetrable. They're just a lot tougher outfit to run on. It's the number 7 run defense in the country, and then you add in the fact that they probably don't have to overly fear the pass. I mean, right now, Maddox Maxon, 208 per game. That's what he's done through the air this year. That pass rush for Penn State's very strong. So those are two areas where I think it's all or nothing. And, Maddox Maxon actually has probably the chance to be the hidden star in this game. He's a 62% completion guy. He's thrown 3 picks this year. Like, he's been good. But Exhibit 3 on my scale of all or nothing is if Ashton Jeanty is his usual self versus if Penn State grabs an early lead and forces 3rd and long. Because in the first iteration of the game, well, it's Boise in their comfort zone. Even if it's back and forth, it's Boise in their comfort zone. But if Boise's having to play catch-up, it's kind of the same way that we just talked about Notre Dame for similar reasons. If they're forced to play catch-up, I don't love the dynamic. I don't love the matchup either way for Boise. And there's a lasting thing, too. Colin, you can go ahead and throw the model up if you want to. Penn State's favored by 11.5 in this game right now. So I got to tell you something. I have a theory in this game. We got to test this theory out. I got a theory in this game that it benefits Penn State more than it benefits Boise. I would rather see Penn State play Boise in Phoenix, in Glendale, than I would in State College. I think that cold weather affected Penn State's offense every bit as much as SMU. I love where Penn State's offense has been trending, and you saw it in the second half of the Big Ten title game. I get to see them in a controlled climate the rest of the way, no matter how many more games they play. I think that offense is peaking at the right time, and I think they're going to put a little bit of pressure on Boise here because I don't think it's going to be your normal relying on Penn State's offense to not be able to get out of their own way, and even if we're not converting, don't worry, they won't run away from us. I think Penn State's going to put some pressure on Boise. I think they're going to force Boise to score, force them to keep up. We got Penn State minus 11.5 at FanDuel. The model has Penn State minus 12. I think Penn State's going to win and cover. I think you will see the best game Penn State plays all year in this game right here, which would mean they move on, and whatever they do after that's whatever they do. But the best game they played all year, whatever you think that is, I think it will be topped. I think they will peak and play their best game here. Really love Penn State in that game.